Week 1 lecture, Academic Writing Basics. Writing at a college level. What does it mean to write at a college level? We all write, most likely every day. What is the difference between how we write every day and how we should write in college? Let's take a look at two different phrases. The healthcare system in the United States absolutely needs to be reformed so that every citizen has access to adequate and necessary medical care. I think that healthcare in this country is horrible and needs to be fixed so everyone can go to a doctor. Both of these things say the same thing, but it is how you say it that will make the difference between personal writing and college-level writing. What are some of the differences between the two sentences? The first statement is written in third person, which means you talk about things without yourself in the picture, while the second statement is written in first person, I think. Make sure that when you are writing an academic essay, unless it is a personal narrative, you should write in the third person. Always be specific. The first statement indicates several specifics: healthcare system, United States, reforms, and every citizen. The second is more vague, referring only to healthcare, this country, which country, and everyone. Lastly, when writing in the college setting, you want to be sure to consider your audience's perspective and try not to use subjective language. What is horrible to one person might not necessarily be horrible to another. Use your research and data to prove your point. Finally, most of us do most of our writing in our personal email accounts, our Facebook or MySpace accounts, and over our cell phones in the form of text messaging. This kind of writing, while valuable on a personal level, is not appropriate for the academic setting. Critical thinking. Malcolm Forbes, publisher of Forbes magazine, said, "Education's purpose is to replace an empty mind with an open one." Critical thinking is the art of thinking. It asks you to look at information or an argument and question whether you believe or disbelieve it. All of you bring to the classroom a set of values, beliefs, and perspectives based on your own life experiences. Critical thinking doesn't ask you whether or not the argument is right or wrong. It asks you to analyze why it is you react or believe the way you do about the argument. Test this idea for yourself. Identify some examples of your strongest feelings or emotions. Then identify the thinking that is connected with those examples. For example, if you feel excited about college, it is because you think that good things will happen to you in college. If you feel a sense of dread about going to class, it is probably because you think it will be boring or too difficult. Before you logged into the class today, how did you feel? How was that connected to the thoughts you were having about school and this class? Academic writing style. Many students have asked why academic writing style is so important. For college work, academic writing style is required so that all elements of students' assignments are consistent and easily identified. Making sure your assignments are in the correct format will also decrease the chances of plagiarism. Imagine for a moment that you are in a writing class and your instructor asks you to write a paper with no instructions on how to format the paper. Without a writing style, each student would most likely have their own individual way of writing that paper, citing the sources, even formatting simple things like page numbers in the title. Some students might put references on each page where they are used, while others might not include them at all. Now imagine that you are an instructor asked to grade those papers. How difficult might that be? What if you were reading a newspaper where every writer was allowed to format their article whichever way they chose to do so? Try this. Pick up a newspaper, whether at your home or at the store, and flip through it. How are the articles formatted? Is the font size the same? Are the column widths the same? Also think about work situations. What would an office be like if everyone arranged information differently? How much would it slow down processes and procedures in a doctor's office if there were no forms or standards? In a courtroom? At the Department of Motor Vehicles, getting your car registered would take even longer. Every type of business has its own style for managing information. Learning academic writing style gives you the foundation for any industry style. Paraphrasing versus quoting. When should you paraphrase and when should you quote a source? You will want to quote a source when the exact wording is important to prove or illustrate your point, or when the credibility of the person making the statement strengthens your claim. For example, if you were writing a paper about the Gettysburg Address delivered by Abraham Lincoln, You wouldn't want to paraphrase one of the most important and memorable speeches in our nation's history. The words that were spoken are just as important as who is speaking. You will want to paraphrase when what is being said is more important than who said it. For example, you don't want to quote an encyclopedia entry. Most encyclopedias are a compilation of many different writers, and there isn't one particular expert who stated what is written. Remember that whether paraphrasing or quoting, if this is not common knowledge, you must cite your source appropriately. What is plagiarism? Plagiarism is defined as using the work of another person, whether accidental or intentional, unless it properly credits the originator. In academic writing, giving this credit is done with a citation, also called citing your sources. Plagiarism is a very serious matter, and we want to take every measure possible to make sure that you understand what it is and how to avoid it. Most of you probably know that if you copy a quote from someone else word for word and don't give that person credit, it is considered plagiarism. But did you also know that if you take that same quote and turn it into your own words, called paraphrasing, it is also considered plagiarism unless you give credit to your source of information? This course helps you learn the key components of APA formatting that allows you to cite your sources correctly so that you give credit to those sources of information you use in your academic work. It is vital that you learn this early on in your academic career so that you can apply it in your subsequent classes.